Jackie. Good morning, Amiku. All right, guys. So today is National Single Tasking Day. So it's the idea of getting things done one thing at a time, kind of like taking it in bite-sized chunks instead of this huge, massive thing all at one time. Does that make sense? So my question is, what are you guys, what are like 3 things you're going to try and get done today? Remember, they don't have to be huge, gargantuan, large things. Hi, William. Hi, Troy. Hi, Ipu. It's this idea of trying to get them done one thing at a time. Hi, Sadie. I mean, it could be, I am going to submit 2 assignments in my classes. I'm going to binge watch a 12 episode. What show, Franchon? I mean, if it's a good show, maybe it's something I want to see here. Got to share. What about the rest of you guys? Oh, you're just going to randomly pick something? Okay, cool. Well, I randomly picked Peaky Blinders today. So I've been watching like different shows. So, and I've been caught up on most of the shows that I watch because a lot of them are like series. So I've got to wait for things, you know, like on Paramount or HBO to come back out. Yeah. So I had it on my list and I don't know, somehow it got pushed down the end. And I was talking to somebody about it yesterday and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to turn that on. So I've been going back and forth between Peaky Blinders and How to Get Away with Murder. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, I know the other thing I'm going to probably end up rewatching again. And I always do this every year when we come up with this particular project is The Walking Dead. Because we're going to talk the economy of the zombie apocalypse. But first, we got to get through Module 9, Lesson 2, our course arc. So hopefully what you guys were able to figure out is we're only doing the course arc. We're not doing the notebook. We are not doing the quiz. We're just doing Module 9, Lesson 2, course arc. So I need you guys to all open up your course arc. Okay? On the Module 9, Lesson 2, EverFi, the marketplace and the economy. Too many of you guys are not submitting the assessment grade. I need to see that is the economy or the marketplace, whichever lesson you completed, the assessment grade and your name in the upper right-hand corner. If I can't tell what it is, you're not getting credit for it. So a lot of you need to go back and look because I was like, this isn't the assessment grade, or how do I know this is for the economy or the marketplace? Okay. So I'm just another heads up. The Module 8 project closes tonight. Today is the 22nd. So if you've not gotten that done, get that taken care of. Remember, that's 2 summative grades. And then we're going to start our economy of the zombie apocalypse today. We will finish that up tomorrow. And then just as an FYI, all work for quarter 3 will close on March 6th. So we are coming up to the end of quarter 3. And I think, and I'm not sure if I have any of you guys in here. I don't think I've seen, is Kiona in here? Haley, did you go do your civics exam? I see Haley is here. Did you take your civics exam, Haley? You did take it? Okay, I had not looked yet today, so I'm just checking with that one. Is Kiona or Jonathan in here? I don't see either Kiona or Jonathan. That's, you know what? That's okay. Franchon, you can take as many as you need to get a good grade. That is totally okay. Okay. All right. So Haley, I will go find your grade and I'll make sure I get that pulled. Okay. All right. So hopefully you guys have your module 9 lesson 2 course arc open. Yes, yes, yes. Give me a thumbs up if you have your course arc open so we can like fly through this. All right, so we're going to talk about 3 basic economic questions that all societies must face. We're going to talk about economic goals that determine how a society answers those questions and the characteristics of a traditional economy. So, do you or have you watched any zombie shows? Have any of you guys, I mean, like, obviously Walking Dead. I think, what is it, The Last of Us? Is that new show that I can't really get into? I just couldn't get past episode 1. World War Z. There's a lot of movies, right? So what would be the hardest thing about living in a post-apocalyptic world, do you think? You know, zombies, bandits, change in lifestyle, the people you're with, right? It can either make it good or it can make it bad, right, Franchon? Exactly. All right, so we're going to do enterprise and economics, the vocab and multiple choice questions, and the course arc. Let's get through this quickly so we can get started on our project. All right, so I am in the course arc. Hopefully everybody has theirs open. So we've talked about these words, right? Standard of living, the level of economic prosperity, innovation, right? The process of bringing new methods, products, or ideas into use. Specialization, the concentration of the productive efforts of individuals and businesses on a limited number of activities. Incentive, the hope of reward or the fear of penalty. That's that carrot or stick idea, right? That encourages a person to behave in a certain way. Consumer sovereignty, the power of consumers to decide what gets produced. If everybody wants X good, people who make it are going to want to keep making more of X. But if they're putting out A and nobody wants A, they're going to have to stop making A because it's not productive, right? They're not making money off of it. Eminent domain, the right of the government to take private property for public use. Macroeconomics, the study of economic behavior and decision-making in a nation's whole economy. Microeconomics, the study of economic behavior and decision-making in small units, such as households or businesses. Gross domestic product, the total value of all final goods and services produced in a country in a given year. I know we've already talked about this before, but you know, this is where we see that marriage, right, of government and economics. Profit, right? The amount of money a business receives in excess of its expenses. So how much more do you make than you spend? Obsolescence, the situation in which older products or processes become out of date, they become obsolete. And there we go. So let's look at our vocabulary. The study of economic behavior and decision-making in a nation's whole economy. Which word is that, guys? And you can either type it in the chat or you can unmute your mic. Can anybody give me the answer to that? What is that one? I'm waiting. Anybody? Come on, guys, I need an answer from you. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get to our project today if we're still sitting here trying to do vocab. What is the definition of the study of economic? What word is this definition? Macroeconomics. Good. All right. The process of bringing new methods, products, or ideas into use. When you come up with a new idea, a new great idea, what do we call that? Macroeconomics. We know it's not that. Is it innovation, eminent domain, incentive, or specialization? Innovation. Good, Kylie. Good. All right. The hope of reward or the fear of penalty that encourages a person to behave in a certain way. Remember, we talked about the carrot or the stick. Incentive. Good, good. All right. The right of the government to take private property for public use. This is found in the Fifth Amendment, actually. Eminent domain. Good, good. All right. And then the concentration of the productive efforts of individuals and businesses on a limited number of activities. That's one thing left, right? That's specialization. All right. Does everybody have this completed? Yes. Yep. I see 2 yeses out of 19. I need some more responses, guys, before I move on. All right, I'm seeing some responses. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next one. So we're going into learn economic questions. This says, what goods and services should be produced? Every society must decide what to produce in order to satisfy society's needs and wants. While all people need food and shelter, societies face additional considerations. What consumer goods should we produce? How much of our resources should we devote towards national defense, education, or consumer goods? Because resources are limited, each decision comes with an opportunity cost. So remember, we've been talking opportunity costs and trade-offs, right? A society must also decide how to produce goods and services. Is education best delivered through public schools or private schools? What fuel should we use to generate electricity? Oil, solar power, or nuclear power? Although there are many ways to produce goods and services, all require land, labor, and capital, are factors of production, right? These factors of production can be combined in different ways. For example, if you look at figure 1, before the introduction of modern farming equipment, producing 15 bushels of wheat may have required 56 hours of labor, 1 acre of land, and simple hand tools. Today, mechanical labor or equipment and other technologies make farming more efficient. Farmers can use just 2.9 hours of labor to produce 40 bushels of wheat on that same acre of land. While the amount of land used remains the same, labor has gone down and the amount of capital needed has gone up, right? Because those machines are not cheap. Okay. So these decisions involve trade-offs. Who consumes the goods and services that are produced? Societies also make decisions that determine how goods and services are consumed. How can people meet their needs for food and medical care? Who gets to drive the new luxury car? Who can only afford bus fare? Who gets access to a college education? The answers to such questions are largely determined by how societies distribute income. Factor payments are the income people receive in return for supplying factors of production, land, labor, and capital. Landowners collect rent, workers earn wages, and those who lend money receive payments called interest. Factor payments can also include the profits that entrepreneurs earn if their enterprises succeed. Profit is the amount of money a business receives in excess of its expenses. Profits are the rewards entrepreneurs receive for taking the risk of starting a business. So we just have Mr. Sen So I'm going to play the quick video. These are the basic economic questions that we're also going to be able to use when we do our zombie apocalypse project. So give me a moment.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whenever you're watching this. Welcome to Economics with Mr. Sin. Today on the Mr. Sin channel, we're going to be looking at the 3 basic economic questions that every society has to answer. We'll also be going into a couple different types of goods and services. So sit back, relax, and let's figure out what the 3 basic economic questions are. Before we start, I just want to put out another reminder about the guided notes. You can find them in the description below. The guided notes go right along with this video, and they help you take notes on the important concepts that we'll go over. This way you can understand everything we talk about, and when you need to go take your test or quiz, you don't have to rewatch the video. You can just check your notes. So make sure to use those while watching this video. Now, enough of me talking about random things. Let's get into the 3 basic economic questions. The 3 basic economic questions are what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Every single society has to figure out how to answer these questions. They all do it in different ways, and there's no one correct answer. Each culture and society has a different idea of what these answers should be. So we'll be getting into how other countries answer them later on. Right now, we're just going to focus on these questions, starting off with our first one of what to produce. The society has to decide what they should produce. It's a pretty simple question, yet it's difficult. Should we as a country spend more money on social programs or the military? Should we be able to support more agriculture or industrial, or should we support the tech industry? What should we produce as a society? What do people want? What do they not want? All these different things are important questions for us to answer. And it comes down to 2 types of goods and services. Now, goods are things that can be used to produce something, or maybe you buy. Now, there's a bunch of different goods that we'll get into in this class. Right now, we're just going to define a couple, and these will be important for you to understand right now. The first one is a capital good. Capital goods are goods that are used to produce things. They're used by businesses. So if I ran a store and I used an iPad to create my sales, my inventory, if I used it to email my customers and to set up the schedule, I'm using that to produce. It's a capital good. At the same time, an iPad could be a consumer good. Maybe I just want one and I go to the Apple store and purchase one for myself. That would be a consumer good. The other 2 types of goods that we'll get into right now are durable and non-durable, and the names kind of give it away. A durable good lasts longer than 3 years, while a non-durable good will last less than 3 years. So these are the different types of goods you'll have to know right now. Hopefully they make sense. The other thing that we'll get into is services. Services are another type of economic product. Now, this economic product can't be touched. It's intangible. They are tasks that are performed by people. Examples of this would be a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, police officers. All these are different services that society needs. And so there is an economic output there and a production, but it's not a good that you can physically touch. So hopefully that makes sense for services and the types of goods. Now we're going to get more into our economic questions. So we just talked about goods and services, and we talked about what to produce. And the only reason why we have to figure out what to produce is because of the fundamental economic problem. If you don't remember what that is, check out my video. You can click the card in the top right corner to go see it. Now we're on to how to produce though. And how to produce may seem simple, but there's a lot of things that could go into it. Let's say I am opening a business in an area that has high unemployment. Well, maybe it would be better for me to produce my product by human labor instead of automation. Because with high unemployment, there's a lot of people that need jobs. And it might be cheaper for me in the short run, at least, to use labor instead of machines. Or at the same time, maybe there's tax incentives. Or maybe that there is no unemployment and everyone's working. So if I'm going to open a store, it would be really expensive and hard for me to find labor. So automation would be better. All these questions go into figuring out how we should produce our product. At the same time, too, it depends on what we want our mission to be, if we want a certain perception, and all these things would factor into how to produce. The next economic question is for whom to produce. After we know what to produce and how to produce, you will have to figure out for who are you producing. Now, this is a hard question. All of these questions are hard, yet they seem so simple. Companies spend millions of dollars trying to figure these out. Think about it this way. If you're building a home, there's a lot you have to know. If you're trying to sell to people in the community, you want to make sure you know what's the average income there? What house can they afford? What features do they want? What colors do people like there? What size of yard do they want? All these questions need to be answered for you to create the perfect home for your target audience. Even the age range, the demographics, all these things are important for you to understand who you're producing for. All these questions that we've gone over, what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, seem simple. Yet they're very, very difficult because scarcity is occurring and it's hard to know exactly what people think. So every society has to answer these questions. We'll get into different economic systems as countries and governments have decided ways to answer them for people. And at the same time, too, we'll talk about how businesses have tried to answer them as well throughout our course. So make sure you remember these because these questions will be coming back up. Hopefully,
There we go. Sorry. I don't know what the heck just happened. My entire Google Chrome just like completely shut down. Hopefully you guys are able to see the video. Give me just a moment. Let me get that back to presenting. Okay, so basically, in the video, he was just going back through all of the stuff that we've been talking about. In regards to, goods and services, something you're going to have to think about when you complete your economic project that was coming up. Let's move on to the economic goals for societies. So it's talking about efficiency. Different societies answer 3 economic questions based on the importance they attach to various economic goals: efficiency, freedom, security, equity, and growth. All societies pursue each of these goals to some degree. Because resources are always scarce, societies try to maximize what they can produce using the resources that they have. Again, this should be in the back of your head when you are getting into our project on the zombie apocalypse. If a society can accurately assess what its people need and want, it increases its economic efficiency. A manufacturer would be wasting resources producing desktop computers if people prefer laptops, and so on and so forth. Okay. Freedom. Most people value the opportunity to make their own choices. Still, people all over the world face limits on their economic freedom. And that could be because the government doesn't allow it. It could be because economically, financially, we can't afford it. That kind of thing. But we are very lucky because individual freedom is a key cultural value for Americans. Okay. Security. Most people do not like uncertainty. We want to know we can get milk or bread every time we go to the store. We want the security of knowing we will get our paychecks every payday. Ideally, economic systems seek to reassure people that goods and services will be available when needed and that expected payments will arrive on time. We also want the security of knowing that help is available if we are in need. Many governments provide a safety net or a set of programs to protect people who face unfavorable economic conditions such as layoffs, injuries, or natural disasters. A nation's economy must grow with its population so it can provide jobs for the new people joining the workforce. A nation's economy must grow if the people are going to have more income. Equity or fairness is another economic goal that is defined differently in different societies. Each society must decide how to divide its economic pot. Should everyone get the same share of the goods and services a nation produces, or should one's consumption depend on how much one produces? How much should society provide for those who are unable or unwilling to produce? And how are the benefits of economic freedom comprised by the goal of economic equity, or is inequity possibly a cost of freedom? Innovation plays a huge role in economic growth. It's the process of bringing new methods, products, or ideas into use. Think of the Industrial Revolution, where we just literally jumped leaps and bounds. Conflicting economic goals, society may value goals other than these. Environmental protection, full employment, protecting national industries may be among a nation's chief economic goals. Sometimes those economic goals conflict with one another. So when a society provides a safety net for all citizens, the added cost may slow economic growth. Okay. Any questions on that so far? Are we good with what is on there? So then our question is, which income group saw the greatest change? Is it the highest 20%, the fourth 20, the third, the second, or the lowest percentage? The highest, right? Good, very good. So everybody got that, hopefully. Okay, we're going to move on to markets. All right, let me see. We've got, do we have enough time for this one? I think this one's short. Let's do market economy. We'll do the video, which kind of answers all the questions instead of me reading it to you. And then we'll move on to the next one, okay? Give me a moment.
Hello, I'm Craig, and this is Crash Course Government and Politics, and today we're going to turn to a topic that is near and dear to our wallets at Crash Course: economics. Now, I know that dedicated fans are saying, hold on, Craigers, you have a whole series about economics. Tell me about government. To those fans, I say, you're right. And don't call me Craigers. But this episode is going to be about the role that government plays in the economy, specifically the way that government creates the market economic system that we know and love. Before I get into the ways that government creates a market economy, let me be right up front and say that we're going to posit that without some government, it wouldn't be possible for a market economy to exist. What? I realize that this is a bit controversial, with many people believing that markets are natural phenomena that follow laws like supply and demand that are analogous to real physical laws like, say, gravity, which is also a movie starring George Clooney. He aged so well. This is an interesting construct and one that has important political ramifications, because if you believe in it, then basically there's nothing that the government can or should do to improve the economy. I'll leave it to commenters to argue this point, but I stand by my statement. We wouldn't have a market economy without government. So, economically minded political scientists and politically minded economists will tell you that there are a number of ways that government structures the economy in the US. I'm going to go over 8 of them, although there might be more. So, in no particular order, here goes. The government creates and maintains a market economy by establishing law and order, defining rules of property, governing rules of exchange, setting market standards, providing public goods, creating a labor force, ameliorating externalities, and promoting competition. I think most of us can agree that a big part of government's job is to establish law and order. This idea goes back at least as far as the Enlightenment and Thomas Hobbes, but since this isn't Crash Course political philosophy, I'm going to move on. Law and order helps to structure the economy by providing predictability. It's much harder to engage in trade or production for profit if you suspect that what you have to trade or sell may be taken away by bandits, like the Hamburglar. But in that case, only if it's actually burgers that you're trading. But it's not just that the government, if it's doing its job, can protect us from being robbed in the literal sense of the Hamburglar stealing our delicious, delicious burgers. The government creates a legal system that can punish people who commit fraud. And knowing that they can be punished prevents people from committing fraud. Or at least I hope it does. Most of the time, it does. Don't do fraud, kids. The second way that the government structures the economy is by defining rules of property. Now, there are many people who tell you that property is an inalienable right, sort of something given by God. I'm looking at you, John Locke. And John Locke would respond, don't tell me what I can't do. But I would suggest that without government, what you think of as your property might not be as yours as you think or want it to be. But isn't this sweet polka dot button-up I'm wearing mine? Well, it is because I paid for it, and we have laws that say that payment for a good confers a title to it. We see this especially with land, or as it's known in the law, real property, or perhaps real estate. We don't actually receive written titles when we buy most things, but according to the law, if I can establish ownership by proving I paid for this shirt or somebody left it to me in their will or something, then it's mine, and if someone takes it from me, I can bring the law down on them. The courts, the legal system, or maybe the sheriff will help me get it back. A really concrete example of the way the laws create and protect property rights are trespass laws, which allow you to tell those noisy kids to get off your lawn. Without trespass, who's to say it's not their lawn? Basically, ownership of anything is a bundle of rights establishing what you can do with that thing, whether it's your car, or your house, or your eagle. And without legally established ownership rules, we can't buy or sell or punch anything. And speaking of buying and selling, another way that the government structures the economy is through setting and governing rules of exchange. Let's go to the thought bubble. In most states, there are complex rules that explain how and when, or even if you can sell something. For example, some localities like Indiana have so-called blue laws that prevent you from buying or selling alcohol on certain days. Some counties in some states are completely dry, meaning that you can't buy or sell alcohol at all. And for a brief terrible period in the U.S., prohibition, the 18th Amendment to the Constitution prohibited the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors. Manufacture, sale, and transportation sound like the three main ingredients in an economy to me. Some exchanges are still flat out forbidden by laws in the U.S. Many drugs are called controlled substances for a reason, and that reason is that they are subject to government control. Some drugs are prohibited outright, and if you can make or sell or buy them, you can be punished by the government. There are also laws preventing you from selling yourself into slavery, or from selling your body through prostitution, or selling parts of your body like your kidneys. Some economists may question the wisdom of these rules, but they exist, and by making and enforcing them, the government can exert powerful control over what can and cannot be exchanged. Thanks, Thought Bubble. Probably less controversial than the rules governing exchange is the government's role in setting market standards. This is something governments have been doing for a very long time, and you've probably learned about it in history class as the government's setting up weights and measures. This may not seem like such a big deal until you consider that if you're paying someone for a pound of chickpeas, you need to know what a pound is if you're going to get the right amount for that sweet hummus. This goes for measures too. If I'm going to buy an acre of land, I want to make sure that I'm getting 4,046.86 square meters of land, or 43,560 square feet. And if I buy an acre in Scotland, I'm going to get even more, since Scottish acre is the equivalent of 1.27 US acres. Plus, no one will look at me funny when I'm eating my haggis. Basically, this means that the government ensures that buyers and sellers are operating on the same playing field. This used to be even more important when currency contained precious metals, but I don't want to get into the big argument about pennies and nickels. That's John Green's thing, and we've all established that I'm not John Green. This brings us to public goods. Public goods are things and services that the government provides that can be enjoyed by everyone, and once provided, cannot be denied to a particular subset of the population. One example is public transportation. In many places, the government provides bus or subway services to residents. Not for free, but at highly subsidized costs, although if you've ridden the New York subway recently, it doesn't always seem like the subsidies are big enough. In many cases, the government steps in to provide public goods when markets wouldn't. It's not likely that private companies would provide an air traffic control system, and even if they did, it would have to be highly regulated by the government anyway, because you don't want different cities and states enacting different rules about air travel. That would be a literal disaster. Also, if it were up...
Okay, so I think, you get the idea when we're talking about a market economy, right? It's the marketplace. It's where we buy and sell goods, and how much control a government has over it kind of changes it as to, is it a full market? Is it a mixed economy? Or are we looking more at a command economy where the government owns and controls everything? Okay. So elements of a free market economy. This is economic freedom is the chief characteristic of a free market economy. It affects every household and community in the United States, including yours. In a free market economy, it answers the three basic economic questions. Are made by voluntary exchange in markets. So choices made by individuals determines what gets made, how it gets made, and how much people can consume of the goods and services produced. Individuals and businesses make their own decisions about what to buy or sell. Market economies are also called capitalist economies because the capital that the entrepreneurs invest in businesses is a vital part of the system. Okay. So it talks about households and firms. Participants in free market economy are households and firms. A household is a person or group of people living in a single residence. Households own the factor of productions, land, labor, and capital. They are also consumers of goods and services. A business or firm is an organization that uses resources to produce a product or service, which it then sells. Firms transform inputs or factors of production into outputs or goods and services. If you look at this circular flow model, it looks at the diagram, shows how households and firms exchange money, resources, and products in the marketplace. The inner ring of the diagram represents the flow of resources and products. Note that both households and firms are resource owners in this model. The outer ring represents the flow of money. Okay, so you guys see that part of this, the inner ring, and then the outer ring. Okay. The invisible hand metaphor was introduced by 18th century Scottish philosopher and economist Adam Smith. It characterizes the mechanisms through which beneficial social and economic outcomes may arise from the accumulated self-interested actions of individuals, none of whom intends to bring about such outcomes. The notion of the invisible hand has been employed in economics and other social sciences to explain the division of labor, the emergence of a medium of exchange, money, the growth of wealth, the patterns, such as price levels, manifest in market competition and the institutions and the rules of society. Okay, so the invisible hand looking at each one of these, right? Profit-seeking producers will make more, needs of society automatically met, government does not get involved, competition keeps quality high, competition keeps prices low. Are you with me on that? So using the diagram above, in the factor market, what does the physical flow and monetary flow most likely represent? Can anybody give me an answer to that? Anybody? People giving, or firms giving people money in exchange for work? Let's see. What does it say? You're right. Yay. Does everybody have that? Hopefully. Hopefully. All right. So let's move on to the benefits of free trade. So we know that there's opportunity, right? Dozens of services and products you use every day. Somebody had to come up with them and put them into action. Somebody had to figure out that people would rather rent money from a website than go into a store and, bye-bye Blockbuster. Like somebody invented a way to send photos as well as messages with cell phones, right? Those are all innovations. Now, suppose you had one of these brilliant ideas. Could you put your plan into action? Since you live in the United States, you actually can. We have that opportunity to do so. The American Free Enterprise System makes it possible for people who have ideas and persistence to start businesses and make them successful. Now you examine the vital role that you as a consumer play in the free enterprise system. So it says, why has America been such an economic success? Certainly, the United States enjoys many advantages on resources like open land, large reserves of natural resources, and a large talented labor supply. But a key factor has also been the American tradition of free enterprise, the social and political commitment to giving people the freedom and flexibility to try out their business ideas and compete in the marketplace. This free enterprise system has several basic characteristics. So we have incentives, right? We have a profit motive. We have competition. We have open opportunity, or the idea that anyone can compete in the marketplace. We have a commitment to legal equality, the principle that everyone has the same legal rights. We have private property rights. It's kind of the cornerstone of the free enterprise system. We have the right to free contract, which allows people to decide what agreements they want to enter into. We have the right of voluntary exchange, which allows consumers and producers to decide what, when, and how they will buy and sell. Voluntary exchange also in turn encourages competition, which benefits consumers by providing a larger variety of goods at reasonable prices. So it says, what does the graph tell you about productivity in the period 2007 to 2012? What does this tell us? It says rates of productivity increase in the business sector, annual average percent increase. What is this telling us? It decreased, right? Productivity decreased. Does everybody have that? Hopefully. All right, let's move on. All right, tracking economic data. Yesterday, you bought a pack of gum or a new guitar or your first car. Your purchase was one of millions of exchanges that took place across the country that day. Government economists track these patterns by buying and selling in order to assess the state of the American economy. Tracking data is one tool the government uses to promote growth and stability. Even in our free enterprise system, the government intervenes to influence macroeconomic trends. Remember, that's the study of economic behavior and decision-making in a nation's whole economy. By contrast, microeconomics is a study of economic behavior in small units such as households and firms. GDP, we talked about gross domestic product, is the total value of all final goods and services produced within a country in a given year. When we look at period of contraction, or we look at expansion, when we look at if a country is producing more or less, the alternating pattern of periodic expansion and contraction is called a business cycle. We're looking, if it says forecasting a business cycle from 1930, think about what's going on in 1929, all the way through moving on down through to 2020. It talks about maximum employment, the growing economy. It talks about stability. So our standard of living is the gross domestic product divided by the total population. That is our GDP per capita. Things that are not included is education, poverty rates, income inequality. So they're not looking at who's at the 1%, who's in the middle income, who's at lower income, or health measures. Those aren't part of a GDP per capita or standard of living. Secure financial markets. Another sign of economic stability is the security of financial institutions such as banks or the stock markets. We've seen this, right? All right, so let's go to the last page, which was our summary, and we are done. So hopefully you guys have submitted your course arc so you can get your grade for that. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff that we had to answer in that one. All right, so as I was telling you guys earlier, you did the first one, which was the marketplace, and you took an assessment. I need that assessment grade from this lesson. The second one is the economy. When you clicked on this building, at the end of it, you took an assessment. I need a grade from that one. I need a screenshot of your score, your assessment grade, your name in the upper right-hand corner, and where it shows me the name of the assignment that you did, whether it was the economy or the marketplace. Okay. All right. Zombie apocalypse worksheet. So I need you guys to now open up your zombie apocalypse. Let me go over here. Economy of the zombie apocalypse. I need you to open that up, please. So these notes right here talk about different economic situations, and these are the things that we've been literally talking about since we started Module 9, talking about trade-offs and economies and the goals, right? You're going to use these notes to help you answer the questions in this document. Now, you can either take this document and answer it on your own document that you make, or at the end of this, you can click on this document and just answer it directly into it when you make a copy. I don't care which one you choose to do. Okay? So if you guys, while you guys are opening that, I am going to play you a 1:30 clip from The Walking Dead. Well, you guys are opening up whichever one you're going to do, whether you're going to open up the document that is on the link or you're going to make your own document.
With 100% online flexibility at Purdue University Global.
Where the hell's our backup? We need every available trooper at the east gate, now. They're climbing the wall. We need backup right now at the east gate. The rotters are climbing. I repeat, the rotters are climbing the wall. Oh, shit! Help! Help! What's that? Climbing the wall? Super down! Super down!
So let's look at what you need to do. So there are 3 parts to the worksheet that you are going to be completing. This is a summative grade. It is worth 50 points total. So we're going to look at the rubric. So in each part, I am looking to see that you are answering all of the questions that are being answered. So in part 1, there are 6 questions. And in part 1, you need to give me 2 to 3 economic goals. Guys, you need to make sure that as you are giving me these economic goals and any answer on this, that you are explaining and giving me rationale. If you are giving me 1 to 2 word answers, you're going to get half credit for the half amount of work that you completed. This is a project. For part 2, you're going to assess the resources you have, and I'm looking for complete answers. And part 3, governmental intervention, and there are 7 questions total for our 50 points total. So let's go up and look at the questions that I'm asking you guys on here. So part 1, your first order of business is to create your city. What are you going to name it? Because guys, it's happened. The zombie apocalypse has happened. And now you are going to have to try and recreate your lives, right? You're going to live in a post-apocalyptic world. Devastation surrounds you. Broken infrastructure crumbles. Communications are destroyed. Zombies roam, like you just saw in our thing. The population of your city has become so diminished that only about 1,000 people remain. You secured a small area that you think is fairly safe from the zombies. The war is over and it's time to rebuild. People look to you to forge a bright future and a stable economy. You may choose any economy and government type that you want, but you must be consistent once you choose. You will then work through the questions and make decisions. So obviously, what are you going to call your new city or your new town? Question number 2, what are your main economic goals? Why did you choose these particular goals? And what trade-offs are you making by electing these goals? So remember, we learned about trade-offs. Just because you choose A, it means you're giving up B. So if you think A is important, what is the opportunity cost of that? What type of economy is your new city? Describe how the economy will work. Is it a mixed economy where your new government kind of controls some parts of it, where other people, have their own? Is it a full-on market economy, or, where everybody makes choices? Or is it like a command economy where your government makes all decisions, okay, and owns and controls it all? How does the threat of another zombie attack or invasion affect your choice of goals and economy? So when you're thinking about all these lofty things you want to do you need to also be thinking about security and protection? And what would you be trading off for that security and protection? Okay. Who owns the property? Individuals and businesses or the government? And why are they owning it? A lot of these things you're seeing a lot of why, right? And how will you build a sustainable economy for 1,000 people with the potential for population growth over time? So what are you going to do to become successful? Okay. Part 2, assessing your resources. So what already exists in your city? Is there infrastructure? Is it usable? Be descriptive. No, well, I don't know how you would do that here in the United States, Franchon, because you're here in the United States and we don't allow and have not allowed a monarchy. So you would have to think more along the lines of a dictatorship then. Do you guys have roads? Are your roads destroyed? Do you have buildings? Do you have water plants? Do you have sewage? Do you have electricity? Do you have the availability? You know, what have the zombies destroyed that is no longer usable and needs to be rebuilt or produced? Okay, so they've destroyed some of the electricity. How are you going to make electricity? Do you have anybody like human labor? Remember your human capital that can come up with maybe solar power or things of that nature? Okay. What land or natural resources does your city have? Do you have a lot of trees? Do you have land that you could actually farm on? Do you have space that, you know, you can work with, grow food? You know, what do you guys have? What labor or jobs exist in your city? Guys, are you going to have people who are security? Are you going to have people who can cook? Are you going to have people who have medical knowledge, government knowledge? Like what kinds, you know, what jobs do you guys have? Will people be paid with money or resources? Thinking again, the country's destroyed. So are you using cash? Are you going to come up with your own form of currency? Or are you guys going to be doing more like trading? Okay. What human capital will you create? Will there be schools, training facilities, etc.? And if so, what are you going to have? What physical capital will your city focus on creating and why? What will you use the factors of production to produce? What goods and services are available to your people? Is there money? Do people barter, like trade items? If there's money, who controls the money supply? And then number 9, what is the maximum output, the production possibilities for your economy? In other words, how much of each resource can your economy produce? So you guys are going to work on parts 1 and 2 this evening. In class, we'll go over some of these, and then we will move on to part 3 during class tomorrow. All right, and it is 11:50. Class is done for the day. I just want to remind you guys that your Module 9 Lesson 2 Course Arc, you should have submitted it. EverFi Marketplace and the Economy are both due. You should have your Zombie Apocalypse worksheet open and thinking about all of this. Tomorrow, we will finish up this worksheet and talk about Module 9 Lesson 3, Supply and Demand. And that is it. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day. Yes, Michael. Bye, Heidi. Bye, Franchon. Okay, what did you need to talk about, Michael? Do you want to unmute?
Yeah.
Okay. That'll work.
So I haven't been doing too hot like in school in general. And I was wondering, because I was trying to search up like on the website or whatever, and I was wondering like if I could get like the counselor's like email.
So your counselor, give me a second. I'm looking at the list. I think it's Jennifer Drummond is your counselor. Hang on. Let me pull her up real quick. Okay, so I'm going to type it. I'm going to put it in the chat.
Okay.
Great. So that's Miss Drummond. That's your counselor.
All right.
Okay. So here's what I would tell you to do. The Module 8 project. Do that.
Okay.
It closes tonight, but That is 91 summative points between those two items.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm just
So-
super behind.
Focus on the summatives.
Okay.
So like our projects and our quizzes.
Okay.
So like module 9, let's see, module 9 is lesson 1 already closed. Yeah, module 9 lesson 1 already closed. Yeah. So do the module 8 cash free society, the task list and the infographic.
Okay.
And then all of the EverFis that we are doing are all summatives.
Okay, cool.
And the videos are in there. So you know where to go to find our videos.
Yeah.
I walk you guys through getting into there and doing them. The EverFis are super easy.
Okay.
So you'll do the marketplace. That's the first one we're doing. That's the course. In there are the 2 buildings like I showed you.
Yeah.
You'll do each of those. You'll go through the entire lesson, and then there's a 10-question assessment at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Got to make a 70% or better. You can take it as many times as you need to.
Okay.
And then you're just going to submit the screenshot of your assessment grade.
Mm-hmm.
So just from here on out, like till March 6th, every summative that you can get done and done at least with a 70%, that's what you need to focus on.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. You're welcome.
You have a good day.
You too, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, William, what's up?
All right, I have 2 questions. The first one, so the way we base our government for our little community on the zombie apocalypse assignment is based off of how the United States is run, or
whatever you want.
Okay.
Like, okay, so we're not going to have, obviously, we're not going to have a monarchy, only because we are in the United States, and you know we don't like monarchies.
Yeah.
And I just don't see anybody in any settlement going, sure, I'll call you king or queen.
Okay.
Not happening, right?
Yeah, that threw me off a little bit, but now I understand.
You know, if you're a military dude, couldn't you have like a military in charge of your government? You could do a dictatorship if you think you could keep it, right?
Yeah.
You could do where you elect your people. There's any number of things that you can choose. Just whatever you choose, stick with it for your government and your your economy. They're going to work hand in hand, right?
Yeah. And then for my second one, I understand that for the EverFi assignment, I submitted the 2 screenshots, but it was kind of hard to understand which one was which. So I resubmitted it, but I also sent you a reminder on which ones I submitted, like in order. But as well, for like future reference, how can I do better on submitting on so you can understand like which one I did?
Okay, so here's what I need for each one. So like where it says the marketplaces, all I want is the actual assessment that you took when you finished the marketplaces lesson.
Yeah.
So at the very end, you'll have something that says marketplaces, your name, and your assessment grade.
Okay.
And then for the economy, once you did that whole lesson and you took the assessment at the end, once you get your grade where it shows that you are in the economy, what your post-assessment grade is and your name up in the right-hand corner. That's what I need to see in each of your screenshots. The lesson that the assessment is from, your name in the upper right-hand corner, and what the actual assessment grade is.
Okay. So since I kind of messed up on that, so should I redo it?
Yes. To get your
resubmit it?
Resubmit it, yes.
Okay, so I'll just redo the assessment and then resubmit it the correct way.
Well, you shouldn't have to redo the assessment. You should be able to just go back in there and pull your assessment grade.
Okay, I'll try that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a great day too.
Oh, you too, William.
All right.
All right, bye. Brooke, did you need help with anything?